action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for November 13th, 2024. I am Matt Skraby, joined in studio here by Frank Marchese. We'll hear from Frank here shortly. But we got a good show planned, I believe at least. It's a good show planned. We're going to do some news of the day. We're going to talk a little bit about Garrett Crochet and what the White Sox want in exchange for him. We're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. And then as we go along in the final segment of the show, I'm going to talk about Odell Beckham Jr., who's like kind of shoving things in people's face right now. He made a decision to do something with his contract, and it seems to be working out for him right now. Also, we found out where Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 ball ended up. The ball that was the 50th home run, and there was a big fight over it, and they auctioned it off, but now we know where it went, so we'll talk about that. And we may even, if Sam Levitt is able to, we may even check in with him at the end of the show, see how he's doing, what's going on with his show. But let me ask you, Frank, before we get into the news of the day, how was the debut show for Sammy Lev last week?
Went really well,
Yeah?
at least I think. Yeah, it went really well, really smooth, really quick. Actually, it felt like it went by in 10 minutes, which is always good.
10 minutes is very good.
This. Yeah,
It's a 2-hour show, so 10 minutes is pretty good.
flew right on by.
Flew right on by. That's good. Now, did Sam handle himself okay? Was he the tyrant he usually is during the season, or was he much more relaxed?
Oh, he's always a tyrant. I mean,
Okay,
that
good.
hasn't changed.
Yes.
It's just different time that he's a tyrant now.
Yeah, it's like Sam doesn't know when his shift ends usually.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that he knows, he could be a tyrant in the 2 hours that he's here. But he's actually in New York tonight, so he's going to be doing the show from there. We'll again checking in with everything. Also, Nate has a question for you, but we'll talk about your process here later. But I think right now it's time to get into the news of the day.
It's time to get caught up on the latest with the news of the day.
All right, so the first one here is going to be about Garrett Crochet, and then we're going to get into it in the next segment and talk about it a little bit further. But the White Sox are likely to trade Garrett Crochet this offseason. They said that their preference is a package led by a high-end position player. They would consider taking a pitcher as the headliner if the rest of the trade package is to their liking. Now, Crochet is 25. The one thing about him that makes it very attractive for teams, even though they're going to be giving up good players, is that he has 2 years of team control remaining, and so he's going to be a relatively cheap starting pitcher that can go right into your rotation, and he's projected to make $2.9 million next year. So for a guy like Garrett Crochet, who has he has great ability. We know that. We were questioning whether or not he was going to make it through the full season last year because of the innings. He's never thrown so many innings in his career. He's coming off of Tommy John, but he's a lefty and he strikes out a lot of guys. So Garrett Crochet is definitely a good pitcher, but how much are you willing to pay for him? We don't know what the Padres are willing to pay for him, but we'll talk more about that as we go along. We now know ESPN's opening day doubleheader, Frank, for baseball.
Who we now?
I think it's no surprise the defending champs are going to be a part of it. So the Dodgers are going to be a part of it. It's going to be a doubleheader. The Yankees are going to be home to the Milwaukee Brewers at 12 noon our time, followed by the Tigers and the Dodgers at 7 p.m. So those are our first two games. Does not really scream
Who are the Brewers opening up against?
the Yanks. And then the Tigers are playing the Dodgers.
Should have known.
This doesn't scream exciting to me, but I guess obviously you're taking the two teams from the World Series. Then you're putting a team in Milwaukee who made the playoffs last year, who has some names on their team. The Tigers are an up-and-coming team, but I don't think they're ready for the big time yet. I don't think they're ready for opening day status. I would have liked to see, I know the schedule doesn't allow for it, but I would have liked to see Padres-Dodgers open up the season. I know that the Dodgers and Cubs are going to actually be opening up the season in Japan like a week before opening day, but
Padres and Dodgers, I don't think they play each other until like the middle of June. That's like the first game is the middle of June, like the 7th, 8th, 9th, or the 9th, 10th, 11th of June, something like that.
I would much rather play them late than play them too early. Like they seem to do this with the Giants too, where they play a lot of games early in the season against the Giants, and then they don't play again until like the end of September. And I know we've talked about it. Schedule is great. You get to see all the teams, but you don't get to face your in-division opponents as much as you would like to because you can control your own destiny. Who are the Padres opening up with in 2025?
Atlanta.
Yes.
Atlanta here for 4.
I should have known that. It's a good thing I have Frank here today because if this was regular Skraby show, he's got a schedule in front of him.
I just saw it right there. It's you open up with a 7-game homestand, 4 against Atlanta, and then 4 against Cleveland.
Yes, and then you go at Chicago, and then you come back for at Ath, which is the Athletics in Sacramento. So at least they get that out of the way as well. They play the Rockies and the Cubs at home. Astros, Tigers, Rays, and Giants in the first month, so we don't need to go over the entire schedule right now. The other news story of the day, Greg Popovich is recovering from a stroke that he apparently suffered on November 2nd. The team called it a mild stroke. They provided an update today saying he suffered the stroke at the team's arena, and Popovich has started a rehab program and is expected to make a full recovery. There's no timeline for his return, but GM Brian Wright said that he is doing well. And Popovich, he is 75 now. He's the oldest coach in NBA history, but he's had some health issues here over the years. And I said this in the break to Tony and Chris. And being the NBA head coach, being a NBA head coach, does not seem like an easy job. It seems like a very stressful job. And Popovich, I would, I'm not going to tell him what to do, but I would caution him to maybe look at what's most important. Maybe basketball is most important to him. He is 75, which is older than I thought he was. But this is scary to have a head coach do or have a mild stroke in the team's arena. It's very scary.
That's not great. I'm very happy to hear that he's doing better and recovering well.
Yes. Another news story, the Sixers, Joel Embiid, Paul George are not playing tonight against the Cavaliers because of injury management. Now, a reporter did try to get Joel Embiid caught in some word salad and was like, "Are you going to play tomorrow?" And Joel Embiid said, "Hey, I know I said I will never play back-to-backs, but I'm a troll." So Joel Embiid knows that everybody's coming after him right now. I don't know how I feel about this whole load management. I know it's been going on forever in the NBA, and I understand that you probably can't play every single game throughout a season. There's 82 basketball games. That is a ton of games. You play 3, sometimes 4 times a week.
It was the standard. Not 20 years ago, you played every game.
Well, yes, and the reason I think we change over time into doing stuff like this is because athletes are bigger, better, faster, stronger, and they have a lot more. Frank rolled his eyes at me. They have a lot more muscles working, and you have a higher risk of pulling one of those muscles or hurting yourself. I mean, you got guys like Zion Williamson who probably do need some load management days, but he ends up getting hurt. He's out indefinitely. I want to go to an NBA game, but I want to go see this new Clipper Stadium. I honestly don't know if I want to go because I'm not sure who's going to play, and that is the biggest problem for the NBA. Because I want to go and I want to see Kawhi Leonard. I want to see the Clippers stars and whoever they're playing. Like, say I pick a game and they're playing the Lakers, and then because I've never seen LeBron James play in person, really, he sits out, and then I'm paying for a ticket to watch Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers and a LeBron James-less Lakers, and that's a huge problem for me.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's a problem for the fan that can only go, like, you can probably go whenever you want, But a lot of these fans can only go one game a year.
Yes.
And if you just happen to pick the wrong night, you're not going to see anybody you paid a couple $100 to see the Lakers at the Staples Center to see.
Yeah, and it's very expensive. I went, the last NBA game I went to was years and years and years ago, and it was when the Warriors were still in Oakland, and Corey Maggette was on the team. This is how long ago that was. But even when they were bad, that ticket was super expensive. However, we did not have problems with load management back in those days. And so we got to see all the players playing. And I don't know. It's a problem for me. It's a huge problem for me. NBA doesn't really think to care about it. Ed McKee says, going to a T-Wolves game later this month, but didn't splurge for Clippers or Lakers for the reasons you just stated. Oh, so you're going to a game in Minnesota, Ed McKee. Very, very nice. That's it for the news of the day. Let's do our roll call. Blue Meanie's here. Thomas is here. M. McKee, Dan, Rod, Welsh Fryer is here all the way from across the pond.
2:00 in the morning over there, by the way, he said earlier in the
I
chat.
always thank him because it's amazing that Welsh Fryer is here with all of us at 2:00 in the morning. Nate is here. Podzilla is here. Trevor's here. Bernice is here. Everybody is here right now. I'm sure I'm missing people, but Trev is here. As we go along, I'll check out the chat and see what's going on in there. But right now, we are going to head to break. When we get back, we're going to kick around this Garrett Crochet trade and talk about how worth it is it and which players are we willing to part with on the Padres if the Padres want Garrett Crochet in a Padres uniform. So all of that when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Matt Skraby back with you here in the Odyssey Palace, 97.3 The Fan, The Skraby Show. Frank Marchese here with me as well. You can watch on YouTube if you would like. Just search 97.3 The Fan. You will find it at the top. You can also follow me on Twitter or watch on Twitter. X. I still call it X or Twitter. I can't ever get the name right. At Matt Skraby, MattsKraby, as in boy, Y.
Don't ever call it X. Don't ever.
Well, it is, how long do we have to put in the articles? Because every article I read, when something is reported on Twitter, it always says formerly known as Twitter next to it. Are we going to have to do that for all of eternity? Because it seems like that.
Yeah, it may as well. It's always going to be Twitter to me.
I agree. Everybody knows what Twitter is. When you say X, some people are like, what is the X? Blah, 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 blah. I've been really in a bad mood about social media lately. I'm not built for it. I'm pretty sure I've found out over the years. I'm just not built for the quick opinion because I get angry. It's one of my friends calls X or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. They call it the anger machine because that's basically what it is. I don't really know how to consume social media these days. I don't.
That's why I just watch Instagram reels of cute dogs doing funny things.
Cute dogs doing funny things. I agree with that. Did you hear my story about the possum?
I might have.
Okay.
I don't remember though.
My dog. You didn't then, because my dogs almost tried to eat a possum over the weekend.
Yes, I did read that. I did,
and it was quite scary. And I the problem is I say I'm not into social media, but then I was wrangling the possum and I was like, man, I wish I had my camera right here for social media because that would have been amazing. It would have been amazing. The possum just kept looking at me going, okay, I'll stop doing that now. All right, let's actually talk to you real quick, Frank.
Okay.
Everybody wants to know about your weight loss journey. Last week we talked about your surgery. You're looking great.
Thank you.
You're able to work in some solid food at this point. How's it going?
It's going well. It's getting a little bit better. I'm starting now to get that itch of I want regular food again. But other than that, everything is still going well.
What's because obviously you can't just, you're not going back to the way you were eating before, or it's a lifestyle change. What's something you cannot wait to eat?
Honestly, the first thing I said once I saw it on the list, the first thing I thought to have on December 8th, which is when I could start the next stage of this, just meat sauce. Honestly, I know that sounds like a really...
Oh, you're so Frank Marchese.
It sounds like a very stereotypical answer, but that was the first thing I thought of because I could only have ground beef or ground pork or ground chicken, all very lean stuff to start off with. But that was like the first thing that popped into my head was meat sauce sounds pretty good.
I agree. I mean, I like meat sauce. I like meatballs. I think meatballs are the best.
Yes. Oh, of course they are.
Yeah. I like those little meatballs that are frozen and then you put them in the microwave. I know that they're not real meatballs, and I haven't eaten those in a while because of the SD fat loss thing, but yeah. All right. Thank you for checking in, Frank. So Garrett Crochet is one of the hottest names on the market right now. He and Roki Sasaki are two names that you are going to hear a ton about in the next couple months. Garrett Crochet plays for the White Sox. We all remember last year at the trade deadline, the Padres were kind of reported to be in on Garrett Crochet at the trade deadline. But then Garrett Crochet's agent came out before the deadline and said, hey, if you want to trade for him, he wants a new deal to pitch in the playoffs. And everybody was like, excuse me, sir? We're going to trade for you. We have to give you more money, and then just to play the playoffs? No, that's not going to happen. I mean, he's one of these guys that you make exceptions for. And I hate making exceptions because I've never been the guy that the exception is made for. And so I always think that making exceptions just allows people to further their bad behavior. Not that Garrett Crochet is a bad guy, but making exceptions, just bringing him in with no second thought about it, is not what I want the Padres to do. I think that they absolutely need to pass on this. And last year he was seventh in baseball in strikeouts, 209 strikeouts, 1.07 WHIP. Now you can't even look at his win-loss total because he plays for the White Sox. So he was 6-12. His ERA was 3.58. But my biggest concern about Garrett Crochet is what the White Sox want, and what they want is a high-end position player that can go and play the position right now at the major league level. They are not concerned with prospects in this deal. Unless your prospects are like unless you're talking Ethan Salas and Leonidas DeVries, like, you are not trading prospects for Garrett Crochet. So what we talked about earlier in Gwen and Chris is the first name that came to mind that would need to be a part of the package would be Jackson Merrill. And once I'm done saying Jackson Merrill, I say, no way, get that out of here. Jackson Merrill is a Padre, and Jackson Merrill is a very important Padre. I think the Padres can find pitching. Now, with his 2 years of control, with him only making a projected $2.9 million next year, and the year after it will be like in the $4 million or $5 million or something. It is so tempting to go for that, but it's not right for the Padres. It's right for other teams, but not right for the Padres. They cannot give away any of their high-name players right now, or high-end players right now, and I don't even want to think Jackson Merrill in that situation.
No, not at all. I mean, I was at the game last year that Crochet pitched here, and I was actually enjoying myself quite a bit. I was actually very disappointed when they took him out because he had an innings limit. I just have absolutely no desire to see the Padres trade for him. That you don't need him, well, you do need starting pitching, but you don't need starting pitching at the cost of blowing up your team and trading away key pieces to get him, especially if they're not after prospects. Bogarts' deal is way too big to move. Cronenworth's deal is way too big to move as far as the production that he gives. Of course, you're not moving Manny. You're not moving Fernando. You're not moving like a Michael King. You're certainly not going to give Dylan Cease back.
Or Robert Suarez.
Or Suarez. Or Adam Scott even. Not Adam.
You mean the golfer / actor Adam Scott?
Yeah.
Tanner Scott.
No, the other one.
Jason Adam.
That's the one.
You got all the names there.
I got them. I got them flip reversed. I would not do that. I wouldn't disrupt this team. For as good as Crochet is, I would not disrupt the flow of this team to get a guy like Garrett Crochet, as good as he may be.
And that's why I don't think the Padres are going to do this. Jackson Merrill has proven that he is going to be one of those special players, one that doesn't come around often. Obviously, he did things in his rookie year that
for a long time.
Did you say pest?
Yes.
He is going to be a pest for other teams. You read all the quotes from around baseball on Jackson Merrill when he goes to a certain town and they ask the manager about him. Everybody says that he is really good and he is really hard to get out, and he's just a baseball player. And Podzilla says, let's not put it into the universe. I'm not putting it into the universe because I don't care who is on the other end of the trade. AJ Preller and co. are not going to move Jackson Merrill. And so that's why you can kind of look the other way and not go in on this Garrett Crochet thing. Now, there are free agents out there I think that they can go after. The name on the list, and we've talked about this a couple weeks ago, the name on the list that I really like is Shane Bieber. He's a free agent coming off of a Tommy John surgery. He, before the Tommy John surgery, was really good for the Guardians last year. He is now an unrestricted free agent. So he's being projected as making 6 years, $150 million. So it's Shane Bieber. We talked about Max Fried yesterday, bringing him back to San Diego. Now that's a lefty. He's very good. I think that would be a good option. If you're going to spend, these are the two guys I think you could spend for and feel pretty good about it. Tony made a great point yesterday, which was, I know what I'm getting from Max Fried. So if I'm going to bring another pitcher in to be in the rotation, then I want a guy who I know is going to give me exactly what I need. And so I think that's why one of these two guys would be worth it, to me, at least.
Well, definitely. And all the name we all hear and always talk about is Blake Snell. But again, you think back to, would you say last year or 2 years ago at this point? The 2023.
Oh, 2 years ago.
Okay, so 2 years ago.
2 seasons ago.
Yeah. When you think about 2 seasons ago, he was very, very good from June on. April and May, you did not want to see him on the mound for more than 3 innings.
Yeah.
You wanted him out. You didn't want to see him around. He was just plain awful. And he was the same this year when the season started, when he finally got in with San Francisco. So you know what you're getting with Blake Snell as well. The question is, do you want a guy like Max Fried, who's a hard-throwing lefty, a very good lefty, or do you want Blake Snell, who's only going to give you about 4 good months? And that's where I think the money is going to draw the line.
This is what I've been saying on the Skraby Show for a long time. I did on last Friday, I did a segment, free agents, I want the Padres, not to sign her. I had a better name for it back on Friday. I can't remember it now. I think it was free agents I don't want the Padres to sign, which is a better name than what I just said.
It's very catchy.
Yeah, it's very long, too. It's very catchy and very long, but Blake Snell's on that list. I said, I like Blake Snell, the guy. We're not talking about Blake Snell, the guy. But if I'm going to pay someone nearly $40 million for the year as a starting pitcher, I need you to be good from opening day until the end of the season. And I was talking to Adam the other day about this, and we were both talking about Blake Snell, and I was telling him how I didn't want him to come back because of how much money he costs and also his beginning of the season. Adam goes, well, what if you pay him all that money and then in the second half of the season he does Blake Snell things, and then you're in the playoffs and he's doing Blake Snell things? But I also said, you have to get to the playoffs first. And so the first half of the season is very important too.
Yeah, it's not just the second half of the season in the playoffs. It's not just, is he going to be a Cy Young Award winner, from the All-Star game on? It's how bad is he going to blow it the first half of the year to get to that point?
And I've looked at his splits before, and I'll grab him right now because they are definitely different. And he has a long enough career that this is what he is. Yeah. It's not most likely going to change. Now, can he have a good year out of, a good first half? And I guess so, but it's not going to change. I need to get into the splits, career splits for Blake Snell. I always forget where this little stat thing is because it tells me really easy. But Blake Snell also is someone who is just going to command away all your money so that you cannot fill in around the edges. Here it is. Finally, I was stalling there for a second, Frank. First half, we'll just go by the batting average against. First half 226, second half 190. He gets better in the second half.
Of course.
First half he's given up 63 home runs in his career. Second half he's only given up 39. He's walked less people walked less guys in his second half. He struck out just 16 less in the second half than the first half. And the plate appearances are almost similar. First half plate appearances, 2,300. Second half, he has exactly 2,000 plate appearances against him in the second half. So that tells me that this is what he will bring to my team. A bad first half, good second half.
I mean, and you can say all you want, oh, well, he's a warm weather pitcher. He started his career in a dome. Like, he started his career in a regulated temperature with no wind, no nothing. So I don't buy that argument either. It takes him a while to get going, and it's
good for some teams.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine, especially when he gives you what he gives you in the second half. But with a team like this, in a division like this, we saw it this year. You cannot afford to get off to a bad start and then be forced to play catch up because you don't know what the second half of the year is going to hold.
Yeah.
This year, it held a lot of low records. It held a lot of wins. It held a lot of lesser teams. You can't rely on that this year.
You can't. Some of the other pitchers on the market, they just don't speak to me as much as Shane Bieber and who else did I say? Oh, Max Fried. Max Scherzer, a little bit too old.
Nope.
Justin Verlander,
Nope.
too old. Patrick Corbin, no.
Too much money.
Charlie Morton, too old. Too much money for Patrick Corbin.
Patrick. Oh, I thought you said
the Nationals.
I thought you said Corbin Burns. My bad.
No, Patrick
My
Corbin.
apologies.
Corbin Burns is
Misheard you.
Yeah, he's a free agent, but he's going to cost too much money. Frankie Montas is going to cost a lot of money. Nathan Eovaldi is going to cost a lot of money. Now, here's an interesting one for you, Frank. Do the Mets have to re-sign Sean Manaea? And that was another free agent I did not want to see the Padres go after because Sean Manaea had his best year of his career last year.
Yeah, he had a resurgence last year. I wasn't all that thrilled when they signed him. I liked him a few years ago when he was starting with Oakland, but after that, he just fell right off, and he was fine here for a little bit, and then just right down the hill. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him back. He seems to be one of those really good clubhouse guys, one of those high energy, positive energy guys. Saw during the postseason he was wearing the eye black of the number of the starting pitcher for that day on his face.
Cute.
Yeah. So
Very
cute.
Yeah,
just cute little gimmicks like that.
You know, that'll save the Mets a couple
Mets.
$1 million because he brings that to the team, you know. His team spirit.
He declined his option. He
did.
Yeah, okay.
So
no,
he's a free
not
agent.
the option. They sent him a qualifying offer.
Oh yeah, which is $21 million. He may take that.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him.
Does he want? All these guys want multiple year deals, but a 1 year, $21 million payday might not be the best. And then you can kind of either ride off into the sunset or you can bet on yourself.
For a guy like Sean Manaea, in the position that he's in, at the stage of the career that he's in, that might be his biggest payday ever.
Yeah.
You may not want to pass that up. I know you want the security, but that's a lot of money.
I don't think I can turn
for
down that
1 year work.
$21 million if I'm Sean Manaea. That would be very hard.
Especially when you're a middle to back end of the rotation kind of guy.
Yeah, you're like a 4 or 5.
Yeah. I'd take that.
Dominic says, on his own admission, he quit on the Padres. Hard to go back to a guy who quit on you and give him a bunch of money. I 100% agree with that.
I don't argue with that at all.
Now, on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about what I think is the number one priority for the Padres this offseason. Like, I think that they need to go all in, and we'll talk about it when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. November 13th. Now, I just saw in the chat something. That's why I stopped there, because for a second I had to think about what this thing was. But M. McKee says, because they were, because I said it's nice to have another human in here on the chat, and they're like, "What do you mean another human? What else is in there?" And I was just making jokes and saying, "Oh, there's a guy named Randall that lives in here." And have you ever heard of frogging, Frank? PHROGGING?
I am not up with the lingo of the youths. So
It's not a youth thing. Frogging is something I brought up on one of my early Skraby shows, and it terrifies me. Frogging is where someone lives in your house and you have no idea that they live in their house, and you're living there rent free.
Good.
So there definitely is a frogger in here somewhere, because the movie that I was watching, these people were living in the attic, and the people in the house had no idea that they were living there. And then I started getting into the real stories of frogging, and there is actually a guy in New York who was living in someone's like attic for months, and they were noticing that their food was going missing. And so they put up a camera, and they found this dude coming out of the ceiling every night and getting things from their fridge. It was terrifying.
It's almost like having a fear of the open ocean and watching Jaws, don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I didn't know anything about frogging until I watched this movie, and I was terrified by it. But yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think about it all the time now. I'm not kidding. I think about, like, what was that noise? Is there someone in the roof right now, or in the attic right now?
That's called paranoia.
Yeah, it is called paranoia, because I do not want to deal with a frogger jumping out while I'm sleeping. This freaks me out.
Keep a blunt force object very, very close.
Well, that's what Lucky's there for. Lucky, he takes up the whole bed anyway, so I don't know.
If you have a possum living in the ceiling, I am positive that he will take care of it. And I'm pretty sure you are positive now as well.
Oh, yeah. He wanted to eat that possum. Opossum. I got to say opossum. Possums are from down under.
Oh.
Opossums are North American.
Oh,
Welsh Fryer says, my landlord moved someone into my flat without telling us. We were so confused when she walked into the kitchen. Yes, that would be extremely confusing to have some random person walk into the kitchen.
But at least they weren't hiding there.
True.
They were moved in, quote unquote. But
still creepy, but at least when you
is.
find out what happened, it's okay.
Yeah.
But
enough.
having someone, excuse me, what are you doing here,
I was
person?
looking at the. Oh, I thought.
No, not you. I'm like, all right. Before break, I said this is the one thing the Padres absolutely need to do this offseason, and then we'll get to Sam Levitt and talk about some stuff. They have to find a way to bring Roki Sasaki to the Padres. The contract, the money, everything is perfect. He's a phenom. International scouts are saying that he's the best, one of the best pitchers they've seen ever. They're saying that he's like, one of the scouts said he's like Noah Syndergaard when he was good, which is hilarious.
Well, you know how long that lasted, so good luck with Roki.
I know, but with Roki, and as much as it's going to help the team, it's also as important to block him from going to the Dodgers. And I think Yu Darvish is going to do a lot to get Roki Sasaki at least in a place where he's making a decision as to whether he wants to play for the Padres. Hideo Nomo is also on the Padres staff. He has lots of pull. But it does scare me that Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto are also in a dugout, and they could bring him over. And then they have a rotation of Yamamoto, Ohtani, Sasaki, Glasnow, and then like Dustin May. I think as much as it is important to bring him in to benefit the team, it's as important to me to block the Dodgers from getting him.
Here's my pitch to Sasaki as far as him coming here. Do the Dodgers have great pitchers? Yeah, they do. They have a lot of money? Yeah, they do. Did you see what their rotation looked like during the postseason? Because everyone got hurt.
They still won the championship, though.
Do you want to blow your arm out at 24?
Why are we talking about him blowing his arm out?
That's what the Dodgers had. All their pitchers. All their pitchers were injured.
So Dustin May, Walker Buehler, all those guys had some arm injuries at some point.
Do you want to blow your arm out at 24, or do you want to come here and get built up to be a better pitcher than what you are now?
I do know that he is
That would be my pitch.
I do know that Sasaki is concerned about finding a place where he is able to develop. Ruben Niebla, pitching whisperer right there. And he is wanting to find a place where he feels comfortable, even that if that is in a quote-unquote small market city. But that's my thing. They have to bring him in. This has to be a win for AJ Preller, or he's going to go to the Dodgers. All right, I see Sam standing by. I'm going to put him on screen right now. Sammy Lev, all the way from New York. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hello, Matt Skraby. Hello, Frank. Frank looks like he's getting ready to go bowling with that shirt he has on. So maybe he's got a late night bowling match.
Do you have a bowling
coming up.
league later, Frank?
I do not. And when I bought this shirt, everyone said I looked like Charlie from 2.5 Men. So I'm
my
rolling
goodness,
with it.
Well,
do.
now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure that part of the reason we've never seen Frank wear this shirt is for a good reason, and that's probably because it's one of these shirts that Frank is now able to break out with his weight loss journey. So it's a good thing.
Exactly.
I give Frank a hard time for a good reason. You look good, Frank. You look good. Skraby, you look good
thanks.
as well. Good
Thank
head
you.
of hair on you, as always. I will
What
say
am
this.
I, wood?
No, he said you look good.
I said you look good.
No, the head of hair thing. That was
I mean,
insulting.
Your hair's hair's
I'm
okay.
looking at it right now. So
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
We're going to talk more about this at the top of the hour on the second ever edition of Inside San Diego Baseball, live from Long Island, New York. I think the first time that a show has ever been done here on 97.3 The Fan, probably from the state of New York. Well, other than Padres games, but from the state of New York, and certainly here in Nassau County on Long Island. But I will say this, Skraby, listening to you the last few minutes, man, you're putting a lot of pressure on the Padres.
I realize that.
Yes, and we're going to talk about it. It would be amazing for so many reasons if the Padres can land Roki Sasaki, but the Padres could make as great a case as they want. Ultimately, he can go wherever he wants, and really to any team. It's not going to be any team, but he can go pretty much anywhere he wants to any team. And look, the reality is they could make a great sales pitch, and Yu Darvish could make a great sales pitch, and he may just decide to go elsewhere because he prefers to go elsewhere. So, look, I think it would be awesome. We'll get into it, but I would just maybe slow the roll a little bit on if they don't get it done, it's some sort of massive failure. Because I think it's really out of it's in their control, but it's also sort of wildly out of their control at the same time because it's a really unique situation, just like the Shohei Ohtani situation was a number of years ago, which, different players, but obviously was a very similar situation.
Yeah, and you know what? This is good stuff because Sam needed to have me pump my brakes because I did say that it would be a huge failure, and I did say that it's going to basically end the world if the Padres don't get Roki Sasaki. And Sam's right. He has the ultimate choice. It's not like a certain team has rights to him and he has to decide or anything like that. He's a free agent, and he's able to go wherever he wants to go. Now, it tells me a lot about him if he chose another team outside of the Dodgers. Tells me that he wants to pave his own path. It tells me that he just doesn't want to go to the team that is set up to win now. But Sam's right. I should slow down a little bit. I think the Padres are going to do everything in their power to bring Roki Sasaki to San Diego, and I trust that that's going to happen. So
yeah, I think no doubt they're going to do everything within their power. The reality is, too, we're probably not going to have the answer here for at least a little bit. I'm sure rumors will start to spill out, and we've got to see when he's officially posted and whatnot, but it certainly seems like he's going to get posted in the 2025 signing class period. It would only make sense for all parties involved, Sasaki and his team in the MPB, to get posted. I think the date is he would actually get posted would be after December 2nd. They can't sign him on December 2nd, but it's kind of when the process would start. So it's going to be really interesting, and I'll tell you this, and again, we'll get into it. I don't want to spoil everything coming up at the top of the hour. But the reason, and to your credit, Skraby, the reason it's so important is because it would, number one, fill what is a big hole in this rotation right away, and it would do it for such a little cost for a team that is already up against the CBT number, a team that is trying to improve, but trying to improve it on a budget, a team that has a number of other different important needs. If you could tell me right now your rotation opening day 2025 is Darvish, Sasaki, Cease, and King, then I'll tell you what, I'd be good with saying, hey, let Matt Waldron or somebody else take that 5th spot. Let's go and focus your money on the other areas. And look, if you need a starting pitcher later in the year, hey, you might address that in the summer at the trade deadline, whatever it may be. But you're able to get Sasaki. To me, it sort of answers a big rotation question, and then you can allocate those resources elsewhere. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. And look, obviously, it's going to take a while to figure it out.
Yes, we'll leave. He's a lottery ticket, is what I'm calling him. Basically, you want to win this lottery.
Maybe he'll go to the Athletics. Wants
Could.
to play in Sacramento.
If he wants to. If he wants to go play at a AAA park in Sacramento, he could definitely do that. I don't know that the A's even really want to sign him, because that means he costs money, and they only have players that don't cost any money.
Now, Skraby, I think this is the perfect question for you. Would you rather play in a AAA ballpark in Sacramento, or would you rather play at a spring training facility in Tampa Bay?
I think the spring training facility.
I think so, too. Spring training facility is set up for certain things.
They're really nice.
Probably,
and it's not going to be nearly as hot.
Probably the Yankees spring training facility.
That's because
one of the proposed.
Tampa's going to go and play there because they can't play in their own stadium, which is kind of strange.
That's one of the proposed spots, to play in your divisional rivals' spring training facility.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It's going to cost $55 million to fix the roof on there and everything. Sam, real quick, did you have fun at the wedding?
I did. Nice wedding in Buffalo. My first ever time to Buffalo, as you can imagine. A ton of Bills gear everywhere.
How many wings did you eat?
I had a handful of wings the first night I was there. We went to a restaurant, not necessarily known for their wings, but the wings were really good. They were actually very, very good and not saucy at all. Very, very flavorful, but very, very dry. So it was really, really good, and had a nice time at the wedding. Good first trip to Buffalo. Went to Niagara Falls.
Whoa,
that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that was
cool.
cool.
Check out that part of the world.
Definitely worth seeing if you're ever in that area, Buffalo. You can cross into Canada for a second and see the falls from there. So that was very cool. And now I am back here on good old Long Island.
Long
where
Island.
we will do tonight's show from.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us here on the Skraby Show. Sammy Lev, Inside San Diego Baseball, is up next. He's going to be talking Sasaki. He's going to be talking all about the free agent stuff. So stick with us. There's no grape tonight, everyone. I don't really have a grape. I had a really fun day, so I'm not going to ruin it by complaining about anything. We will be back tomorrow. Gwen and Chris, no Skraby Show. We'll talk to you at 2 p.m. Ben and Wood start at 6 a.m. But up next, Inside San Diego Baseball with Sam Levitt.